Kevin Stefanski giving up play calling to Tommy Rees. Second year in a row, he's giving up play calling. What do you make of it? Do we just want to go straight to a voicemail and then kind of talk about it? How do you want to play it out here?
Yeah, let's just play a voicemail real quick. This one's from Kenny.
Guys, it is Kenny Mack, and it looks like one of the biggest trades that we're going to get is Kevin Stefanski is going to trade off his play calls to Tommy Rees. So how is that going to affect the Browns? Well, I took a look back, and, with Tommy Rees, if you hear a lot of his criticism, I'll be honest with you, his days at Notre Dame, he sounds like Kevin Stefanski, just kind of conservative. You're 2nd and 9. He's going to call a run play again. And I'm not too sure much is going to change. Now, if there is anything to hang your hat on with this move, my understanding is that when he moved to Alabama, he just changed up his play calls a little bit. So while he was overly cautious at Notre Dame and, used a lot of disadvantaged situations and ran, he did kind of change it up at Alabama. It was a more of a pro style creative offense with motion, had the RPO thing going as well. So hopefully he takes advantage of QB runs, bootlegs. And now I'm hearing that he's going to, open the play action game up a little bit more and take some selective deep shots. Now, does this mean because he's heavily tight end and running back centric, that more touches for Raheem? I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think. Let's go Brownies. Hoo-hoo.
So I can kind of tell you what I thought, like when I first heard it, is I don't think necessarily who's calling the plays is like it matters. But it's not gonna, like, most of the time switching your play caller isn't gonna, like, just totally revolution. You're not gonna go from historically the worst offense in the world to all of a sudden we're lighting the world on fire. Especially, it's still the same playbook. It's still the same way below average offensive players. It's still Dylan Gabriel. It's still a bad receiver core. What I do think, though, when I say I thought back to our interview with the kicker in the UFL.
Oh, Matt McCrane.
Matt McCrane. And I think it was when we were interviewing him and we were asking about play calls. At least I think it was when we were interviewing him. And I was asking, why are play calls in the NFL so long? Why do you have to tell every single position group what to do when, like every other level, you can just say, a word, and that word tells all these people what to do. And what I thought was interesting when he said that was a lot of times offensive coaches, they're not just calling like a play. They're calling like bits and pieces from 5 different plays. Like they thought of something off the top of their head because they saw something on the field. Somebody radioed down and said they saw something. And he's like, okay, I'm going to take a piece of this play and a piece of this play and maybe a motion from this play and then, a route combination from this play. And I'm going to call them all together into a play. And that's why the calls in the NFL can be so long, because they're not just necessarily one play isn't just like these 11 guys do something. He's calling 5 different plays munched into one. And then I thought to myself, well, maybe that's something Tommy Rees can help with. He's picking from the same playbook, but maybe he can take these ingredients and he mix them up and makes them something a little bit different. Maybe he incorporates pre-snap motion a little bit more. Maybe he calls a play out of a different formation because he sees something differently than Kevin does. And then I thought, well, I'm still not expecting us to light the world on fire, but maybe it is spruced up a little bit. Maybe we can take advantage of a couple matchups or a couple alignments and some pre-snap motions and be a little bit more explosive, maybe get to 20 points here and there. So as far as, like, we're not going to go from worst to first, but I am looking to see if he can, like, just spruce up some of that stuff. Like I'm saying, like, can he hodgepodge some plays together, identify some weaknesses in the defense, call some plays on the fly that kind of take advantage of our strengths, take advantage of the defense's weaknesses, and kind of see if it looks any different. So that was kind of like my initial thought. Like at first I was like, the play caller doesn't matter. Then I thought back to that interview and I was like, well, maybe he can do something.
Well, and what I'll be watching for on Sunday, specifically from Tommy, is does he call anything to set up something later in the game? I was talking to Jake Burns on the podcast last week about that, and he said that that's one of the deficiencies in Kevin's offense right now is he doesn't set anything up for later in the game. And we talked specifically about that end around jet sweep to Malachi Corley on the first drive. And he ripped off like a 31-yard run. And it was like, okay, awesome. We never came back to that look. We never came back to, run a fake off of that or a play action or just give it to him again to see what happens or anything else. There was no building on any of those type of plays. So that's something I want to see if Tommy Rees is able to do. Because if you remember, Nick Saban was saying how he's the up and coming coach. He's a guy to keep an eye on. He couldn't speak more highly of Tommy Rees. So after he left Alabama to come into the NFL, so I'm hoping to see some of that juice from what Tommy Rees can do as a play caller. And like you said, there is part of me that's like, okay, temper those expectations because it is the same. Maybe you're talking about like ingredients from the playbook. It's the same ingredients on the field as far as you got the same players, again, same quarterback, all this stuff. So I don't expect anything crazy, but it would be nice to see an improvement. Like you said, maybe our offense can hit 20. Can we please just hit 20 points, please, on offense?
So I was thinking a little bit about this was, even though I've been a defender of Kevin and his scheme, I've also the last 2 seasons been a guy who's been saying, like, I want to see us spruce it up. I was all for going and getting an offensive coordinator last year. I did not want it to be Ken Dorsey, but I was all for bringing, you know what I mean? I was all for getting a fresh offensive mind in there. Do I think Kevin's scheme is like the best scheme in the world? I don't. But do I think it's better than what it's been last year and this year? I 100% do. I think it's a combination of you have a scheme that could be considered stale, and then you have it being run by players who are not good. And then that's a combination, that's a recipe for disaster. That's how you get last place. Do I think now with these players being this bad, but if we can take somebody to spruce it up, like you said, and then maybe we're still not great, but we're not historically bad anymore, is kind of like what I'm looking for. Can we take the jump from historically bad to, well, they're definitely still not the strength of the team, but maybe the defense can keep us in games and we can score 20 points once. That's kind of like, can we take that leap? And then what do you think? I've heard people say, if the offense looks great now or better, Kevin's worthless. And if it looks the same, Kevin's still worthless. He's like in a lose-lose situation here. What are your thoughts in terms of like, if the offense does look better, what does it say about Kevin and all that kind of stuff?
Well, before I answer that, I want to remind everybody, I went back and we talked about this the other day, but I looked at the stats last year when Kevin handed play calling over to Ken Dorsey. So there were 7 games with Kevin calling the plays, and then the rest of the season, Ken Dorsey called the plays. Almost nothing changed. Okay. We had the same amount of, well, actually, we went down in points per game scored a little bit. It was like 15-14, which we sucked last year. The only thing that ended up going up were I think it was the total yards per game, but that's only because Ken Dorsey got Jameis Winston. He had those games. He had the 504-yard output out in Denver and all that kind of stuff. None of that happened when Kevin was calling the plays. But other than that, like, I forget what the other stat was, but I know it was points per game and all that stuff. Like, nothing changed. It stayed. This was the record. Record was basically exactly the same. We lost just the same amount of games. Nothing changed. So if we make this switch now again for the second year in a row, and this time it's different, and Tommy Rees takes over play calling, and all of a sudden the offense, I'm talking like noticeably different. Like it feels like we're watching a different team than we watched the first half of the season. For me, that would be kind of an indictment on Kevin that one guy can step in here and make that big of a difference to the offense, that you are the one that, like, you're the offensive guy. This is your system. This is your program. You brought it in here. You're supposed to be the offensive head coach, which, by the way, how do you feel about him having to give it up 2 years in a row? Because I can't, off the top of my head, and maybe the chat can help us out, I can't think of another offensive head coach who's had to give up play calling 2 years in a row.
It doesn't matter to me. Like,
well, I know, but it matters to some people.
It just, to me, it's, if Tommy comes in and then the offense is noticeably different, good job on Kevin for recognizing that Tommy was ready to call plays and not being too proud and being like, okay, go ahead. And now we're better. Like, he could just go down with the sinking ship. You know, he could be like, nope, I'm the play caller. It doesn't matter. I'm doing this and I'll go out on my sword. And if I get fired doing this, that's what I'm going to do. Or he can say, it's not working. Let's see if we can mix it up. And I hired this guy, so I obviously should believe in him. And now I'm passing him the torch. He calls plays. We're better. Okay, good. That's a good decision by a head coach. Like, Kevin's not an offensive head coach. He's just a head coach. So he hired this guy. He groomed him. He has him ready, passes him the torch. He does good. That's a good decision by a head coach. It means he's ready. I don't know. I don't think it's an indictment. If the offense all of a sudden looks better, I'm not going to go fire Kevin. The offense looks better. Now Kevin can just be a head coach.
Well, I mean, we'll see what the chat thinks, because I think you can look at it both ways for sure. But
why
we'll
would
see.
If the offense looks better, why would you then fire the head coach?
Well, the thing is, and this is where people are going to argue about it, Kevin's supposed to be an offensive genius. That's what we hear. He's not. I mean,
Nobody calls him an
somebody else
offensive
comes in,
genius.
Pat McAfee just called him an offensive genius like 2 weeks ago on the show.
He's probably wasted or on crack.
Okay.
No, Kevin was known as having an offense that was easy for quarterbacks to play in, like guys like Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. Nobody called him a genius.
Yeah. Okay. People have definitely used that terminology for Kevin. 100%.
I hear it more in terms of when people are being sarcastic.
Well, either way, you guys let us know what you think. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. I don't want to argue tonight about, because I still don't think the offense is going to look good. I don't think it matters,
it just doesn't make sense to me. If the guy gives up, why would you fire him?
Dude, you know that we're on different pages anyway. Like, I'm on the fire him, even if it looks good or bad. Like, I don't care what it looks like. I'm done with him. But that's where I'm at. So for me, if it looks better with Tommy Rees, that's just more fuel in my fire saying, yeah, get rid of him.
So would you fire Kevin then fire Tommy Rees, the guy who has the offense looking better? Or are you going to give Tommy Rees a head coaching job?
Hey, maybe if it looks significantly better.
We didn't learn our difference from Freddie Kitchens.
Oh, dude, I don't think that's mean to Tommy Rees.
It's the exact same situation. Tight end coach to offensive coordinator, head coach. It's literally the same trajectory if you do that. Literally,
Freddie wasn't hired as the offensive coordinator going into the season, though. He was the interim. It was different.
So we skipped 6 months. It would be literally the exact same trajectory.
I'm just saying,
unqualified tight ends coach to offensive coordinator to head coach, all within a year. Like, that's just history repeating itself.
History repeating itself is us doing the same crap over and over with Kevin. We sucked last year. We sucked this year. We're going to suck again next year.
We didn't suck the year before.
We did until Joe Flacco got here.
You mean we got a better player and we started playing better? That's weird.
Wow. We took a last resort.
And we got wins.
I know. We got lucky.
Okay. Whatever. Move on.
Please.
I've never heard of. Anytime a coach wins, it's lucky. But if we lose, it's because he's bad.
Yeah. Let's move on, because it's
always the same thing.
We'll never agree on Kevin.
Well, we did for 5 years.
I know, but not anymore.
There's hundreds of hours of video of you agreeing with me.
I know, and now I am disagreeing with all my previous takes because I don't want him anymore.
Okay. Good. Play the next voicemail.
I don't think it's going to help.
Hey, what's up? My name is Zach. I'm a new listener to the podcast. I listen to it every day on my way to work. Loving it so far. Just kind of want to give my 2 cents on the whole coaching staff thing. I know it was talked about in the last podcast, but it's also a common theme. As far as Stefanski goes, when the season started, I was a big supporter of him. I was like, why would we ever get rid of the 2-time coach of the year? He's done amazing things for us. As the season goes on, I know, like, before the year we weren't expecting to win a whole lot, but, like, it's just been bad. I'm still in support of keeping him on a little bit longer. I don't know how much longer that'll last. And then in terms of Schwartz, obviously he's been great so far. And I also want to talk about Rees. I actually have a buddy that played at Notre Dame under him for a couple years, and he loved the guy. And it sounds like when he first came to the Browns, he told me that we're in for an offensive reboot. So I'm willing to give him some more time too, maybe give him more control if Stefanski does leave. But yeah, I'd like to see what Rees can do, because my buddy was high on him. And then to answer your question on if I was a coach or an owner to hire Stefanski, I think I would as an OC, because like you said, some guys are good at just being a coordinator, not a head coach. So I think maybe that's Stefanski's role in the NFL. But yeah, just want to give my 2 cents on that.
First of all,
we'll get the rest of this.
Are we not sure that that wasn't Jake Burns in disguise? His voice sounded just like Jake Burns.
That did sound a little bit like Jake.
I was like, is this guy undercover?
I didn't even think about that until you said it. And then it was like, now I can't unhear it.
It's like if you had a video, you'd be wearing the mustache with the nose
Right.
and the glasses. This is fake Burns. Here's my what I do find funny. What he said is, would he hire? Everybody's bashing on Kevin for his offense, but then in the same breath, they'll always say he's an offensive coordinator, not a head coach. But they bash on his offense. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, me either, because I wouldn't hire him as an OC either. That's where I'm different than those opinions. But I do think that it's going to be fun. At least it gives us something else to watch for the rest of the season with Tommy Rees calling plays. Just another person on the staff to evaluate. Is there a future for Tommy Rees with the Browns or just in the NFL? You know, these offensive coordinators come out of nowhere and end up getting head coaching interviews and things. It might not be next year, but, you know, if Tommy Rees makes a name for himself, they're always in need. There's always coaching positions open.